2, 1. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome. We hope you are having a good night. Welcome to the Selecting a Major panel for this year. This is sponsored by the College of Engineering and helped put on by the Society of Women Engineers. My name is Carrie. I'm going to be moderating this panel tonight, kind of walking you through the event. So we're going to get right into it in just this moment, but to let you know the schedule, we're going to first be doing some introductions. We'll let all of the panelists introduce themselves. They'll get to tell you a little bit about their major, their co-op experiences, and what they're studying. And then we'll move into a Q&A portion of the event where you guys in the audience will be welcome to put in questions into the chat, and then we'll be reading those and asking them to our panelists. And I'll give more details on that later. So we'll jump right in with the introductions. All right, so hi everyone. Like I said, my name's Carrie. I am a mechanical engineering student at Northeastern. This is my 4th year, and on campus, I'm involved in the Society of Women Engineers, where I serve as the president, and also in the wind ensemble on campus, where I play the trombone. And I did a study abroad here at Northeastern after my freshman year, where I got to go to Italy, which was amazing, and I studied urbanism and architecture. I've done 3 co-ops so far. I'm currently on my 3rd. My first was at Ambry Inc., which is a really small battery startup. It was super exciting. And then my second co-op was at a pharmaceutical company called Lindra Therapeutics. And then I'm currently on my 3rd co-op right now at Fix, which is a product development engineering firm. So we're going to have all the panelists introduce themselves, starting with Eric, and then working our way through all the way down to Rachel. And you'll get to hear a little bit about each of these wonderful students that's involved in the College of Engineering, what their major is, and kind of what makes up that particular major.
All right, great. So let us talk about electrical engineering. So electrical engineering, for anyone who doesn't know, is a really broad and diverse major to pursue. You can work on anything from integrated circuits all the way up to large-scale infrastructure and energy systems. So anything in between there is really an option, and that's really what's exciting about the major. There's a couple different combined majors that are offered here at Northeastern. As you can see here, we have electrical engineering and computer engineering, electrical engineering and physics, electrical engineering and music technology. So all of those are great opportunities to combine your knowledge from electrical engineering with areas of other interests that you may have. There's also a couple of different focus areas. While you don't necessarily choose one, these are definitely areas that you can jump into with your work experience or just general interests. So some things to point out here, I already mentioned you can work on electronic circuits, devices, really small scale, or you can jump up to really large scale, work on power and energy, or you can work on things like biomedical devices, electromagnetics, plasma, optics, microsystems. There's a whole array of industries that you can get into with electrical engineering. So as I said, it's quite diverse. Talking a little bit more about myself, obviously I am studying electrical engineering. I'm pursuing a minor in sustainable energy systems, and right now this is my 5th year. I'll be graduating in May, so almost done here. And then I participate in a couple of activities on campus. Right now I am on the C team for men's ultimate frisbee, where I'm a captain. So I've been doing that for 5 years now, which has been a great opportunity. And then I would definitely recommend this if you're either an electrical engineer or a computer engineer participating in IEEE, which is the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers. We host meetings weekly and bring in companies to talk about the opportunities that they have. And then the other club that I'm a part of is New Toys, which is focused on developing toys. jumping in to co-ops. I've been on 3 co-ops here at Northeastern. My first co-op was back in 2019, where I worked at Analog Devices. Again, talking about the different degrees of scale that you can work on with electrical engineering. I worked on semiconductor reliability, so that's the smallest of the small that you get, talking nanometer size. So it was really exciting to work at that small scale and then basically testing devices to see why they would fail and when they would fail and how they would fail, etc. For my second co-op, I transitioned a bit more to the field of interest of mine, which was renewable energy. So I worked at a company called Nexamp Solar in downtown Boston as a power engineer. So I helped design solar packages that we would send off to the utilities and get those projects working. And then my third co-op, I transitioned still in the energy industry, but a little bit different. I pursued engineering consulting. And so I worked at a company, Burns & McDonnell in Chicago, as part of their transmission and distribution group. So I worked a bit more on substations as opposed to solar farms, but still worked a lot with the designs and reliability there. So all in all, great experiences, and that's kind of the path that I've taken with electrical engineering.
Hi everyone. Next we'll go into bioengineering. This again is like pretty broad, but it also takes in all the other kinds of engineerings and disciplines that you could do, which I think is really interesting. It's also one of the newest like forms of engineering, so very like up and coming growing field. And it's the application of engineering principles to solve problems in biology, medicine, and healthcare. And one of the new combined majors that the department has is bioengineering and biochemistry, which is pretty popular among the people on like a pre-health track. We also have 4 different concentrations within the major, all of which are listed on the screen, and they really like spread across all professions you could do with engineering. So going in a little bit about myself, I'm Alexis. I'm a 4th year bioengineering major, and my concentration is in cell and tissue engineering. I'm involved in a couple different organizations on campus. I am the president of Chi Omega sorority, which is a social sorority on campus. I'm also in the pre-PA society and Pinky Swear Pack, and a member of Society of Women Engineers. And I also did NUN my freshman year, so a couple years back. And I studied in Melbourne, Australia, and it was really an awesome experience for me. And then coming back and transitioning to Boston was also a very unique opportunity and experience. And then going into my co-op. So my first co-op, I worked for the College of Engineering here at Northeastern, and I worked on a lot of different types of projects, mainly working with the tutoring center at Northeastern. And Northeastern has a lot of different tutoring services, and but what's kind of unique to the College of Engineering is there's one specific for like the courses that you go through for each discipline. So they have tutors for the courses that you go through for all of your mechie, bio-e, electrical and computer, like every class that you would have to take. They have a student that has already taken that class and done really well, so they're able to kind of help you through that and try to make sense of the material. And then my second co-op, I worked at Franciscan Children's Hospital as a nursing assistant. I'm on a pre-PA track, so this was something that is going to kind of like give me like a different perspective on engineering and like the different types of fields you can go into with that. So I went more of like a healthcare route rather than going the typical like engineering route, and it really like made a world of difference in me trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career.
And now moving on to industrial engineering. It is a very diverse branch of engineering that deals with optimization of complex processes, systems, or organizations. Some of the disciplines that you can explore as an industrial engineer includes operations research, quality assurance, supply chain management, human factor engineering, facility planning, and a lot more like that. I know it can be very confusing to understand what industrial engineering is about right away. So on a simpler note, you can look at it as using a bunch of math and some amount of coding to make different processes more efficient. The best part of industrial engineering, in my opinion, is the different career opportunities that you can explore in industries ranging from manufacturing and transportation to services and finance. As an industrial engineer, you can take a lot of different majors, but some very different minors, but some very common ones are math, business administration, entrepreneurship, and economics. A little bit about me. I'm Kostov in my 5th year at Northeastern studying industrial engineering with a minor in entrepreneurship. I've done a few things on campus so far. I was the president of the Institute of Industrial and Systems Engineers. Just a quick plug-in in here, all engineering majors have an equivalent of IISc, which is the professional club for that major. And attending their meetings will give you a lot of insight into the major and also the career opportunities that the major presents. I was also involved in Tamir and CASE, which are both consulting and finance clubs under the business school. And I was, as of now, I'm the co-op peer mentor and a member of the Pi Kappa Phi social fraternity on campus. In my freshman year, I did the NU in Greece program, and after my freshman year, I did a dialogue of civilization over the summer in Ghana on social entrepreneurship. I also worked in Israel as a business development intern for a summer at a biotech company called Exit. I've done 3 co-ops so far. The first one was at Wayfair as a supply chain integrations associate. They had a portfolio of around 1,000 suppliers who I regularly worked with to help them solve different issues that came up in their supply chain process. I also worked on automating a part of the supplier compliance and outreach process on Wayfair's end to make the tracking process easier for Wayfair. For my second co-op, I went back to Wayfair, but this time as a project manager in the data solutions team, where I worked as the lead project manager for the operations performance management project. My work on this project was kind of two-folded. The first part was to develop and establish different processes for the project so that it could be run seamlessly after takeoff. And the second part of the project involved planning the operations of the project with the leadership team and facilitating the day-to-day operations of it. And then for my last co-op, I went to Medtronic, where I tried something different. I joined their surgical robotics team as a project manager, but the role was a lot more technical than my previous one. Here I led a Power BI project with my manager to develop a tracking system for the operations of the software side of the surgical robotics vertical. I also worked directly with the engineering team to create the front end of the Power BI dashboard to illustrate different testing and development data within the team.
Hi guys, I'm Taryn, your resident chemical engineer. So a little bit about chemical engineering. I like to call it the world's best mix of math and science. So basically it's just a major that is a nice conglomerate of everything related to chemistry, bio, a little bit of physics, and of course your main calculus classes. And you can use this knowledge in a variety of different applications, including chemicals, materials, biotech, pharma, sustainability, you name it, we do it. There's a ton of combined majors, most popular probably chemi and biochemistry, super popular for those who are pre-med or want to go into biotech. We have a lot of minors as well, and we can work in a variety of different areas and work in a variety of different labs. As I mentioned earlier, it's a very flexible major, and it allows you basically to do a variety of different things out of school, including more school, or completely changing your career trajectory and going to law school or going into finance. So yeah, it's a little bit about Chem-E. A little bit about me, I'm Taryn. I'm in the chemical engineering program. I'm in the BSMS +1 program for Chem-E, so I'm getting my master's in chemical engineering as well. I'm a 4th year. I'm involved in a few different activities on campus. I'm currently the president of AICHE, which is the Chemical Engineering Society on campus. Our meetings are Wednesdays from 7 to 8. If you want to come, you should definitely email nuaki@gmail.com to get you signed up for emails. I've been a peer mentor. I'm in Huntington Angels Network, which is a venture capital club on campus that connects Northeastern affiliated ventures to funding or advisors or clients. We're actually recruiting right now, so check it out on their website, huntingtonangelsnetwork.com. I'm also an OXC mentor, which is the Chemical Engineering Honor Society, and I serve as a mentor for underclassmen, where any underclassmen chemies can sign up for guidance. I've been involved in 2 research labs, one being the Lustig Lab, which deals with 2D polymers, which are basically just like really cool materials that have very cool properties, such as like Kevlar, that was funded by the DoD. And then right now I'm in the Carrier Lab, which does drug delivery research. And basically I just study how food affects the drugs that we ingest as human beings. And we're also a contract lab with different drugs from different companies. I've done 2 co-ops, both at Continuous Pharmaceuticals. Continuous is super cool because it's a very chemi-related company, and basically, like, they're trying to make small molecule drugs, which are just like the pills we take every day, in a more efficient manner. So instead of making them like cookies where you put things in and then get things out and you have to keep doing that, they're making it continuously by the name. So a continuous flow of different materials in order to get the desired product. I went back because my first co-op was cut short due to COVID, and I really wanted a good good outlook on the pharmaceutical industry, and the company offered me a really cool second position I couldn't turn away. So basically what I did is do a lot of design of experiments. So if that sounds cool to you, I do a lot of designing of experiments in order to hit certain standards. I also got to work on like a user interface and do some modeling and some automation. So got my hands on some software. And I also got to work with like a lot of different people, a lot of different scientists who are working on like the drugs themselves, then more on the manufacturing side, like how we were making the pills. So it was a really cool opportunity, very chemi, and yeah.
All right, hey guys. So to talk a little bit about mechanical engineering next. So mechanical engineering is essentially all of the hardware that you see in your day-to-day life, whether it's cars, trains, planes. There's a mechanical engineer involved. We work in the aerospace department, in robotics, in pretty much every industry that you see. They have mechanical engineers. So within the mechanical engineering department at Northeastern, we have a couple of combined majors. We have combined majors with physics, design, and history, and those really let you dive deeply into different aspects of engineering, whether it's the user experience with design or the history of engineering with the history combined major. And then within the general mechanical engineering curriculum, we have different focus areas, whether it's biomechanics or materials science. You really get to hone in on what it is that you're interested within the major. And to talk a little bit about myself, my name is Ben. I am a 4th-year mechanical engineering major with a minor in entrepreneurial engineering. I am involved in a lot of activities on campus, but some of them are Generate, which is a product development studio on campus that takes clients from the Northeastern community and does all their engineering and product development for them. Surf Club, we lead trips to go surfing on the weekends around Boston and New Hampshire and stuff. And Makers Club, where we teach workshops on everything from like candle making to wood burning and everything in between for people who like making stuff. And I also had a study abroad experience with Alexis in Enuin, Australia in 2018, which was an awesome experience for me. I loved it, and it was a super good perspective to have when I got back over here. And then as far as my co-ops go, I have done quite a few co-ops, but my first one was at a tiny startup called Infinite Cooling in Cambridge, where we designed these structures that went on top of cooling towers and recaptured water. So I got to work on all sorts of different test fixtures and things like that for that. And then I went all the way across the country to Fulfill Solutions, which was a stealth mode startup where I was working on these huge multi-robot systems where all these different robots had to like interact with each other, and that was super, super interesting and super fast-paced. And now I'm working at a company in Boston called Starry, which is actually an internet service provider, which is surprising as a mechanical engineer, but you have to deal with all of the waterproofing and all the enclosures, and so it gives a totally different look at mechanical engineering. And then in the upcoming summer, I'll be working at SpaceX on their rocket, the Falcon Heavy, as a structures and mechanisms engineer.
Hey guys, so now we're going to talk about environmental engineering, which I like to think of as engineering outside and how you can interact with the environment in a way that both benefits the environment itself and also humans. And so we have a few combined majors here at Northeastern that are pretty new, and actually a lot of people are taking them up because they have put them at a position where they can get a much more interesting job after graduation. So a few that we have are environmental engineering and health science, and environmental engineering and landscape architecture. So environmental engineering and civil engineering are pretty inextricably linked, but some more things that you can focus on in environmental engineering are sustainable engineering, water quality, infrastructure, and coastal engineering. You can do those things in civil as well, but it's more outside, hands-on, technical, environmental infrastructure, and the interplay between the environment and engineering is much more focused in environmental rather than civil. And so there's a few employer types that you can go into. You can go into government, you can go into consulting, you can go into energy and public health. So to talk a little bit more about me, I am a fourth year environmental engineering major. Carrie. So I'm an environmental engineering major. I'm fourth year. I have a minor in geology. Some activities I am in are EWB, which is Engineers Without Borders, which is a pretty common group to join as an environmental engineer. And so we basically go to a different country around the world that is approved by the national Engineers Without Borders, and we design either a structural project or a water project that helps a community in need of what they need. So the one that I'm doing in Uganda and I'm leading is a water distribution systems. So we provide clean water to a community in Uganda. Also a member of Society of Women Engineers and an outdoorsing club. And what I've studied abroad in Iceland. It's a geology co-op or a geology dialogue where you can go study rocks and hike for a month. It was pretty great. So my co-ops, I've done 2 so far. My first one was a research-based one in Worcester at Alden Lab, and I basically looked at the hydraulic properties of a river and figured out what engineers have done to it to make it react in the way that it has. And that kind of made me realize I like water and I like rocks, but I don't really like that hydraulic side of it. And so to pivot my engineering career, I chose one with rocks more. And so my second one was at Geosyntec Consultants, and I was environmental field engineer, where I was outside every day, traveling, doing water quality, doing soil analysis, air sampling. And I was in Connecticut, New Hampshire, Maine, Vermont, a bunch of different states, just traveling, being outside, and getting to do a lovely engineering experience that I wouldn't have been able to do at different other companies. And so it's been a really great experience.
Hello guys, my name is Zach. I'm the computer engineer on the panel. So I like to think of computer engineering as where electrical engineering meets computer science. And it's for people who want a greater understanding of everything to do with computing. So that's bridging together both the hardware aspects of computers and also the software aspects of computers too. And I think it's super fulfilling to, know how they interact with each other and, rearranging different physical objects. So you get things like phones and computers and stuff. So computer engineering, you can go into a lot of different fields because, you have both hardware and software knowledge. So you can do more hardware focused fields, such as computer architecture, or you could also go into more programming focused fields as, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and computer vision. And then you could also have a mix between the two, hardware and software. So maybe you want to go into embedded systems or robotics. So we offer a good amount of combined majors here with computer engineering. So we have computer engineering and computer science. That's actually the major that I'm in. We have computer engineering and electrical engineering. And then we also have computer engineering and physics. Yep. So again, my name is Zach. I'm a computer engineer, and I am computer engineering and computer science. I am a second year here at Northeastern, and some of the activities I do here is I'm in the game development club. I love making video games. I make 2D and 3D games, and I like making the art too. So I like doing like 2D pixel art, and I also do like doing modeling, 3D modeling. And I also love to skateboard, so I'm part of the skateboarding club. So I actually got involved in research my first year here at Northeastern. I don't think it's ever too early to get involved with research, as long as you know, make a great connection with the professor, and then you just ask them if they're doing cool stuff in research. I bet you that they will let you in. So I actually did a directed study my first spring here at Northeastern, whereas that is when you do research instead of a class. So you get class credit for research, which I think is super cool. It's a way to build in research to your schedule. And then I did a summer RU during the summer, which is a research experience for undergraduates. And for both of these chunks of time, I worked on a project where I made a drone that could enforce COVID guidelines. So we trained the computer to learn how to detect whether people were wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, or wearing a mask incorrectly, like under the nose. And then we implemented that on a drone. So it would fly around, follow people around, and it could tell if people were following guidelines or not. It's not actually policing anybody. I'm not interested in that. I just thought it was a cool project to start on. So I'm actually on my first co-op right now. I've been here for about 3 or 4 weeks. I'm at Medtronic, and I'm on the extended reality software development team as a software engineer. And basically I create XR training and simulation tools for their minimally invasive surgical robot named Hugo. So they have this robot where, instead of the surgeon cutting into the body and doing whatever they do, there's this console with joysticks, and then they move around these joysticks, and there's foot pedals and stuff. So you have and there's a robot, and then there's tools, and it's cutting inside the body and all that. And it's minimally invasive, which is really cool. Yeah, so XR basically stands for VR, AR, and MR. So that's, just you have a headset on, and the surgeon can see different holograms and things that you wouldn't be able to see in real life. So some example other co-ops you can get co-ops at Apple, Amazon Robotics, Boston Engineering. There are a lot of different places you can go. And then you can read some typical co-op jobs that you can also get while pursuing computer engineering.
All right, so last but not least is civil engineering. Civil engineering is it has environmental engineering, like Bella mentioned, but it is a little bit different in terms of the focuses that environmental has. And then there's also structural, geotechnical, transportation, and construction management. There are some combined majors that you can see above, and the focus areas as well. A lot of them have to do with the environment, but everything in civil engineering is just the built environment. So bridges, roads, buildings of all different shapes and sizes. There's some that are for example, in geotechnical engineering, you'll have like a mountain putting just like nets that are structurally designed to keep rocks from tumbling down. That's one thing that you can do in geotechnical. Coastal engineering, you'll use specific types of dirt that have certain properties that are less likely to erode and less likely to cause environmental harm. So it's all about just making the world that we live in just better, basically. So I'm Rachel. I am a civil engineering major in transportation, I'm a fourth year. I am involved with SWE. I'm the vice president. I'm also in pep band and concert band. I've done 3 co-ops, or I'm at my 3rd right now. My first one was at City of Boston Public Works. So that was on the public side, as the name suggests. So that one was a lot of community outreach. I was on the roadway team, but there's also a bridge team in Public Works, and there's a lot of bridges in Boston, whether it's like the big ones over the Charles or smaller ones that are in like different areas of Boston. But that one I learned a lot about the public process and about like engineering standards that are used for both state and local projects. And so that one really helped me transition into my second one, which is at Howard Stein Hudson. So at this one, I did a lot more design work. And so I used Civil 3D and Excel to take plans from very early stages of creating designs of pedestrian ramps at MBTA bus stops. And then I used Excel to create estimates. And so everything would go in, like you use CAD to get areas and then you put it into Excel. So if you like CAD, transportation could be for you, or structural if they both use CAD. And now I'm at my 3rd co-op at Niche Engineering, which is just across the way from Public Works. And so you'll also notice that a lot of the projects you do will work with other firms. So for example, at Niche, I'm doing a project that I worked on at City of Boston 2 years ago. So it all really pulls back together because everything you're doing is for the public. And so this is really an engineering for people type of major. And so right now I'm doing work with City of Boston at Niche.
All right, so thank you so much to everyone on the panel for going through, explaining kind of what the different majors are. I'm sure we all remember when we were freshmen, it was very overwhelming to understand the differences between all of them, let alone figure out how on earth we were possibly supposed to pick one of these to study. So we're going to do a Q&A now, which will maybe help answer some of those lingering questions that you have. I have one question that I'm going to pose to the panelists first, but in the meantime, feel free to use the chat function on your top bar of Teams to ask specific questions that you have for individuals on the panel. I'll leave this slide up so it's easy to figure out. But for example, if you wanted to ask a question about chemical engineering, you could either write like for Taryn or for chemical engineers, but also just feel free to ask them to the general group, and then I'll be kind of working through them to make sure that they get answered by everyone. And as always, any questions, let someone know or type it in the chat and we'll get it sorted out. So the first question is for everyone on the panel. So we'll start with Eric and then go down to Rachel. But I was wondering if everyone could just say kind of how did you actually choose your major? And if you could go back, would you change it?
Sure, definitely. So I was really interested in renewable energy all the way back in high school, and I read this book for summer reading, actually. It's called The Boy Who Harnessed the Winds by William Kambwampa. Definitely would recommend it. It's a story about this boy in Malawi, Africa, who basically builds a wind turbine for his village to generate some electricity, help with his agriculture, and give him a light source in the evenings to study and do work. And I was really inspired by this book because he basically starts from very little. He reads some books in the library, goes to a junkyard to get some stuff, and he's able to basically develop this thing that changes his village forever. So I figured, I'm really interested in energy because of this, and electrical engineering really gets to the nitty-gritty of the technical side of how all the energy actually flows and the circuits and all of that stuff comes together in electrical engineering, and really has ended up being the major that makes sense for me. So if I had to go back and decide if I would change my major, I would say no. I think I'm in the exact major that I want to be in, and I think the co-ops that I've gone on in the energy industry have really reinforced that idea and proven to me that I made the right decision.
For me, I originally became interested in bioengineering because I had thought I was going to go more of like a medical type of route and go into like health sciences or a pre-med type of major. So it was always kind of like on my mind. And then throughout high school, I became really invested in the math and science courses that I was taking. And I had a couple teachers who were engineers themselves. And it kind of opened me up to that idea. And then learning about bioengineering is like a new and up and coming field. Was really interesting to me, and I felt like I could probably combine the two of those into something that I would be happy doing in the future. And after starting at Northeastern, I was not on a pre-health course at all. I just started as bioengineering, and actually started last year on a pre-PA track. So it definitely is not too late to ever jump in on that. And I have loved the co-ops that I've gone on as a result, even though neither of them were really like what you would typically think of as a bioengineering co-op. I think they both opened my eyes to the possibilities of options that I have with this major. And working in health sciences, I kind of get the question of like, why are you engineering and would you change it? Would you do nursing or something like that? And my answer is always no, because I feel like engineering has given me like a very unique background and a way of thinking and processing through situations that other majors or people may have in this profession that I'm going for. So I would not go back. I've loved it.
For me, I had no idea of what industrial engineering was when I was in high school. But I knew that I wanted to do something with tech because I was interested in manufacturing, math, and also the interaction of humans and tech. So I did some research and found industrial engineering very interesting because of all the different things that you can learn from different fields within one major. So the combination of math and human machines sort of pulled me towards industrial engineering, and I'm very happy with my choice.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to echo with, I mean, too much new stuff to add, but I kind of just was like a shot in the dark, to be honest. So if you're that person, you're like, I don't really know what I'm doing. I just chose the broadest thing possible and kind of went for it, and it turned out really well because it just offers so much flexibility.
Yeah, so for me, I have sort of known that I wanted to be a mechanical engineer for a really long time. I started getting really interested in mechanical engineering in like elementary school. Like I've been really interested in working with my hands and doing projects on the side for my whole life. And for a while, I was really interested in aerospace engineering, but I decided when I went to college after sort of some hard thinking that instead of focusing really narrowly on aerospace engineering, I wanted to work in mechanical engineering because it's a much more broad discipline, I guess. And if you're a mechanical engineer, you can also be an aeronautical engineer, but if you're an aeronautical engineer, you can't be a mechanical engineer. So I am very happy that I chose to generalize a little bit because it let me choose where I wanted to focus going forward. So I wouldn't make a different decision if I had to choose again.
Similarly to like everyone on this panel almost, I kind of always knew that I wanted to do something environmental, and I wasn't too sure that I wanted to do environmental science because I didn't see how I could solve problems with the environmental science degree. I could just point them out. And with the engineering degree, it has afforded me to be able to solve those problems in the environment and solve things that I wouldn't be able to do with just a science degree. And to sort of echo what Ben was saying, I can also still go into environmental science and I can still go be a park ranger. I can still go do cool environmental science things, but I have the engineering degree that gives me a different way of thinking. And I think it's been something that's super beneficial.
Yeah, so for me, I always knew that I wanted to do something with technology. I just think it's the coolest thing ever. When I was a kid, I'd always like take apart remote control cars and like TV remotes and see what's inside. And I'd always try to be like hacking online games and stuff, but I couldn't do anything yet. So I originally in high school was just thinking computer science, and then I took a class at the University of Maryland, which is a general engineering class, and we did a lot of stuff with Arduino, which you guys will be seeing in your Cornerstone of Engineering class, where there is like electrical components, like there are pins with wires, and then there's also, you can program the board, and I thought that that was the coolest thing ever. So then I went to computer engineering here at Northeastern, and during my first semester, I was really wanting to do more coding. Like there is some coding in Cornerstone of Engineering, but there's also a lot of other fundamentals of engineering stuff that you need to do. Like you need to do physics and chemistry and stuff. And I just wanted to get started coding because I had started to make video games and I really liked that. And I wanted to get some formal experience with coding. So then I switched into computer engineering and computer science. And I was debating for a while whether to go completely computer science, but I then realized that, I'm not going to know which one I like better, computer science or computer engineering, if I don't try both. So I might as well, try both. And another point that I like to make is, if you're a computer science major, you're probably going to be sitting at a desk all day. Maybe if you're a computer engineering major, you'll get up and you'll be able to, like put together some robot and, test it out in the field. And you see that in your classes too. I have classes where I'm, like plugging in wires and stuff and, like building a robot, but then also doing all the software side of it. So I definitely would not go back and change my major.
I love my major, is all I can really say. I think the most important part about it is that I have to keep remembering when I have like boring projects where it's just like making a pedestrian ramp that is in like some random town in Massachusetts, is that I can do really cool projects that will actually make a difference in people's lives, which is like adding bike lanes, making routes accessible for everyone, making bus routes that are like bus priority lanes, so that people use the bus instead of taking cars. And so I have to keep remembering that the engineering that I do is engineering for people, and you get to see like once your project is built and seeing people like use something that you made is just so cool. And I've only had like a few years of experience, but eventually they'll all get constructed. It takes a while for them to get constructed because the public takes a really long time with everything because of all the bureaucratic red tape, but it's really cool to be able to have an impact on a community directly. And Boston's a really cool place to do it. So if you are doing civil engineering, specifically transportation in Boston, you're going to have a lot of really cool projects to do because everyone wants to make Boston a more accessible city again.
Great. Thanks, everyone. I love hearing all of your stories about kind of how you picked your major. I think it's always interesting to see who's been interested in what they're studying for years and years, and who kind of picked it on their first day of college and it worked out. On a somewhat related note, the question is, did anyone change their major, and kind of how was that process? I will let someone on the panel unmute who would like to take this question.
I changed my major so I can talk about it. I was initially mechanical engineering, but I switched to civil after like a few months. And I think for me, I just like talked to my advisor, and then she initially didn't want me to switch out of mechanical engineering because she like, I don't know, was trying to hold on to all the women she could in Mechie, but eventually there was like a survey monkey. This was also my freshman year, so it may be different if you are past your freshman year, but yeah, there was like a survey that we filled out, and then I just became a civvy that way. But talk to your advisors. It's a pretty easy process.
Great, thanks. I think Rachel's the only one on the panel, but I also changed my major. I know I'm not a panelist, but I was originally a bioengineer, and then I switched to mechanical, which is a common switch that some people do. But it's very doable. Just whenever you have a question about what you're studying, or if you don't know what to do, that's what your academic advisors are for, as well as people like us who exist on a lot of the leadership boards of clubs in the engineering department. So just ask an upperclassman, or worst case, ask your advisor, and they will certainly help you out. But they want you to be successful, and they'll make that change if it's something that you're interested in. Great, so the next question is for Alexis. I was wondering if you could kind of just talk about some other options that bioengineers go into besides the like pre-med or pre-nursing track.
Yeah, for sure. A lot of, since there are 4 different concentrations, it really goes across really anything you could think of engineering wise. A lot of bioengineers like are eligible to take as well. A lot of my friends have worked at like Boston Scientific, Medtronic, Insulet, and then also on the that would be more of like a med devices type of co-op. And then for cell and tissue, a lot of people will go to work at like Johnson & Johnson or Moderna, Pfizer. Continuous, really, like there's a big overlap between chemi as well for a lot of the cell and tissue options. But when you get access to NU Careers and NU Works, like you'll have access to all of the possible job openings. Like it's not just within the College of Engineering either. So if you wanted something that was posted for more of like a biology or a chemistry student and like working in a lab and kind of getting that type of experience, like you are fully able to apply to those as well. So the options are kind of endless, at least in my opinion.
Great, thanks. Yeah, to just inform freshmen who may not know, we have this online platform at Northeastern called NU Careers, which is this like great internal network that helps students find co-ops. So in a year or two, when you're looking for your first co-op, you'll get access to this like online portal, and it has hundreds and hundreds of jobs for all the different majors that exist, with common partnerships that Northeastern has with companies like in the Boston area and beyond that have taken co-ops for a year or maybe 10 years over time. And this is a great place to kind of explore all the different options that exist for you. So like if you're a bioengineer, like Alexis was saying, you could look at all the different possible realm of things that exist in bioengineering, but also maybe mechanical or chemical if you're interested in. And that kind of gives you a sense of what jobs exist out there for people with similar skill sets that you might want to learn more about. Great, so the next question is going to be for, I guess it could be for Eric, but also Zach, feel free to chime in after this. Can you talk a little bit about EE plus CE? And then Zach also then after Eric talks, kind of compare that to CE and CS if there's anything that Eric hasn't mentioned.
Yeah, sure, definitely. So EE and CE is the combined major of electrical engineering and computer engineering. It basically meshes the two together. When you do that major, you go after the 3 fundamental courses of electrical engineering, and you have to take the 3 fundamental courses for computer engineering. So it's definitely a lot of extra work, but I would say that it gives you a nice holistic view of the 2 majors, and it offers more of like a hardware focus as opposed to a programming focus. With electrical engineering and computer engineering, you're more focused on like the physical aspects of things and understanding how they theoretically work as well. But I'm sure Zach can talk a lot more about CE and CS and how that combines.
Yeah, so exactly what Eric said. If you're thinking you're more hardware focused, then I definitely do the CE plus EE. But if you want to do, like good program design, then I definitely do CE and CS. The CE curriculum, especially in the beginning, it's very heavy on math and those like CE courses, you know. So when you do the CE and CS, you have to take the whole rung of computer engineering fundamentals. So you'll take, or computer science fundamentals. So you take computer science fundamentals 1 and 2, notoriously called Fundies 1 and 2. And I really, really, really like those classes. I would say that if you're interested in, you know, like getting co-ops just software or, you know, anything programming related, then I definitely do the CECS because you're going to get a lot more experience, especially earlier on with software stuff.
Great. So I hope that helped answer some of the questions about differences between them. But as always, if you have any other questions, feel free to drop them and we will try and get to them. Great. So the next question is for Bella. We are wondering if you could talk a little bit about kind of grad school options for environmental engineers and kind of like what the really broad range is of job options after you graduate.
Yeah, so you can basically do grad school in any specific concentration under environmental engineering that you want. So you can be as broad as just environmental engineering as a master's or PhD, or you can also go down to like specifically chemical remediation and master in that. Or you could even specialize back down into like a specific subset of geotechnical engineering. It really depends on the school's offerings. I know Northeastern has environmental engineering as like a master's. You can also just go broaden and become civil as well. It just depends on what you want to specialize and how specific you want to study. So you really can do anything in grad school. And then same thing really goes for job opportunities. You can be as specific or as broad as you want. You can go into consulting, you can go into government, you can go into different public and private works of energy or coastal, or you can be a civil engineer as well with an environmental engineering degree, depending on the company that you work for. So a lot of people at my past co-ops were civil or environmental because it used to not be a difference. So you can kind of do both, and you can also like be working with a bunch of geology majors or environmental science majors, and it really depends on what you find passionate, and you can definitely find a job in that almost anywhere.
Awesome. And if you have any more questions about that, feel free to ask Bella, and you can also check out Northeastern. They have like some really great webpage options that describe like all the possible kind of future plans that people typically go into. Great. So the next question is broad. We were wondering kind of how do I actually declare my major? Is there a form that gets filled out? When does that happen? So maybe we'll give this one to Kostov to throw in a new panelist.
Unfortunately, I came in with my industrial engineering major, so I don't know what happens if you come in with an undeclared major. But if you came in with a declared major, you should be fine. If it's an undeclared major, the best option is to contact your advisor, and they will be able to help you out with it.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's right on point. Kind of the general answer for a lot of these questions, like if you don't know about filling out a form or what the like logistics are behind the scenes of how you actually make this work, if you just email your academic advisor, they will have the answer for you. And if you don't know how to do that, if you go into My Northeastern or into the Student Hub, it's very easy to see the like button to schedule an appointment with your advisor, and they can talk you through the process. Great. So the next question is going to be another general one. So I'm wondering kind of how has co-op really been helpful to learn about your major? And, you know, is there any kind of advice that you have related to that about picking your first co-op or what skills you should be looking for? Maybe we can have everyone answer this one kind of a minute per person just to give a quick thought about their first co-op or a quick piece of advice about looking for one or how that could influence your major. So we'll start with Eric.
Sure. Yeah, I think obviously a lot of us are here at Northeastern because co-op is a fantastic opportunity, and I'd say it's really helpful in figuring out if you're in the right major. I think a quick piece of advice is, it doesn't really matter where your first co-op is, in my opinion. What matters is what you can take away from it. So if you're able to go into your co-op even knowing that maybe it's not the end goal that you want to reach, if you can go in and figure out, okay, is this the size of the company I want to work at? Is this the industry that I want to work at? Do I like the people I'm working with? Understanding the context about what your job is actually offering you is just as much insight into where you want to go with your future path. For me specifically, I think I applied to 60 different places for my first co-op, heard back from 2 places, and got an offer from 1. So I didn't really have a lot of choices with where I'd end up, but it still offered me a great opportunity to understand what semiconductors were like, and then use that as a stepping stone for my second co-op, which is more in the energy field, and allowed me to understand where I actually wanted to end up. So just really explore your co-op as much as you can and get as much from it as you're able to do.
For my first co-op, it was during the midst of COVID, like the very beginning of it when I was searching. So I did not have as many options as I probably would have otherwise. So that was a little difficult for me, but you just kind of have to make the best of your situation and like kind of take it and run. And that's what I did. And I learned from my first co-op that I really like working with people and communicating with them and kind of like forming relationships. So that kind of made me reflect on bioengineering, and like a lot of the professions are in labs where you're doing some independent work, and that was not for me. So going into my second co-op, like I really thought about the type of work environment that I wanted to be in, and that's kind of how I landed where I am. Yeah.
For me, from my perspective, co-ops are, yes, very helpful, because that's where you realize whether you actually like your major or not, because the eventual goal is to work in the field for most people. So co-op comes in very handy in that. And the other big takeaway from co-ops is figuring out your strengths and weaknesses, because you can come back to classes and improve on those weaknesses and also your strengths as much as you can. When you get a full-time offer, there are less opportunities to explore, and co-op brings in that opportunity of like exploring different kinds of fields, different kinds of industries, different kinds of jobs. So yes, co-op is very valuable.
I'd say my one piece of advice for those looking for a first co-op is to really find a workplace and a group of people that make you feel happy and excited to go to work every day. I know my first co-op, I kind of like networked my way in at a career fair, and I just really liked working with the people. I had a really positive interview experience, and some of my friends didn't have positive co-op experiences because they chose maybe like a name versus the people who are behind the name. So that would be my one thing is you cannot love everything you're doing every day, but if you love the people, it's a very fun experience and you'll still learn a lot.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo what Taryn was saying. It's at least in your first co-op especially, it's almost more about the people. And if you can go into your co-op and you can find that 1 or 2 people that are really excited about helping you and that you really can get really engaged with, and just ask them as many questions as you can and like kind of annoy them and pepper them with questions all the time, they're going to get really excited about that and you're going to learn a ton from it. And I think the other really valuable thing that co-op brings is it brings you sort of like a grounding in your classwork, because at least in the engineering curriculum, like all of our classes are really hard, and sometimes it can feel like you're like dredging through this curriculum. At least for me, that's how it's been. And when you go on co-op and you have this opportunity to work with these amazing people on these amazing projects, you really have an opportunity to recenter yourself and recognize that this is actually what you want to be doing, and that the hard work is sort of worth the payoff.
Yeah, I think just echoing what everyone else said, and also like on your first co-op, no one expects you to know anything. Like just be a sponge and absorb all the information you possibly can, because everyone knows that you're a college essentially intern that doesn't usually have a lot of experience and is just there to learn, and they know that, and that's why they're hiring you, because they want you to learn and they want to show the company off in a positive light and also potentially get someone after graduation. And just be a sponge and take in all of the information you possibly can, because you'll find the most random thing you did one day comes back in class and you'll know how to do it. That's my piece of advice.
Yeah, I'm a little younger of a person on this panel. I'm on my first co-op now. I've only been there for like less than a month, actually. And it's going really well. I'd say for the co-op search, because it's still fresh in my mind, it's really easy to get wrapped up in like specifics, maybe in your resume, or picking apart like every part of yourself to see if you can actually get a co-op. But I'd say rest assured, the services that we have here at Northeastern, like the co-op class, and we have like resume workshops and stuff, and also the NU Works portal, where it's a website where you go online, and that's where you apply to 99% of your co-ops, and you literally can just press the apply button because you upload your resume to the site, and then employers will see your resume and then contact you back if possible. So I'd say I wouldn't I'd calm down a little bit. It'll all work out. You'll apply to a lot of co-ops. You won't get a lot of interviews back the first time. But if I'd also say that when you're applying, it's really easy to get trigger happy and just apply to everything. But if you really look deep into your co-op and like what that company is actually doing, for example, like the company that I got my co-op for worked in the same game engine that I used to make games, and wanted Blender experience people, which is another 3D modeling software, and I do that for my games too. So it just worked out super well. And I'd say, find something that fits for you, and you're worth it. If it fits for you, then you're probably it's gonna, like those employers are gonna want you.
I think my main advice is if you don't get a co-op right away, don't freak out. I didn't get my co-op until like December, and all my friends had them for maybe like a month or two, and that was probably the most stressful thing. I had like huge imposter syndrome. I was like, I'm never gonna get a co-op, like nobody wants to hire me. And then I got a co-op and it was great. Everything was fine, everything worked out. And it can happen that you don't get a co-op. It's very rare, but everyone has their own process. And also, like, if you're in an industry like mine where there's public and private, public moves at a much slower pace than private. So you just have to remember that they'll just take a while to get back to you, but everything always works out. And there's really good companies in the Boston area. But yeah, it's not super scary. Like Zach said, you just click apply. It's so easy. It feels like online shopping, honestly. But yeah, co-op is great.
Great. Thanks so much. Yeah, I think all the panelists really kind of hit it home in that you will learn about yourself on co-op, and that's what it's for, especially your first one, when no one has any skills going into it and they know that you're there to learn. So just kind of get excited for that. It's a really great option to kind of see what your future could possibly be like and see what people are doing with your degree. Great. So we have one last question. This is going to be for everyone again. We'll go in the same order just to keep it easy. But if everyone could just give kind of a very quick piece of advice to freshmen in the audience. This could be something someone gave you that really resonated, or also just something that you wish you had known now that you're looking back kind of a few years in the future?
Yeah, starting things off, I would say just don't be afraid to ask questions. I think Ben touched on this a little bit, but if you ask questions, you're going to get answers, and the answers that you get are going to help you form decisions down the road. It's daunting sometimes to ask a question in a 150-person lecture, but if it gets you the answer and it gets you the answer to get you to your decision later on, then it's helpful. So ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Kind of going off of that, also don't be afraid to ask for help. That was my biggest thing that I had to kind of like come over freshman year. If someone had told me that, I would have said absolutely not. I would have figured it out myself. But there's a lot that honestly, like, we're all just human and you can't do a lot by yourself, and you kind of have to come to that realization. And asking older like classmates, or even going to TA office hours, things like that, like they are there to help you, and kind of coming to realize that and like utilizing like all of your resources is like extremely helpful. And I probably would not be at my 4th year if I did not ask for help.
Totally echo what Alexis mentioned about keeping yourself like making sure that you're not too stressed. That's very important. Like, things can get overwhelming at times, but there are a lot of resources available on campus, and take advantage of those. Another important thing from my end would be to use different opportunities that you have available on campus, especially clubs, research opportunities, different communities. There are a lot of resources. Please go out and get involved, because that will help you learn a lot about yourself, and also different career opportunities that you can go to after you graduate.
My piece of advice would be to make connections with your professors. They're all super cool individuals. They've helped me out a lot. And something I like to do at the end of the semester is for the professors who really made an impact, I write them a note just saying like, thank you, this was a wonderful experience, and I know it's well appreciated, because they don't hear thank you enough.
Yeah, so on my end, first to echo kind of what everyone's saying, the asking questions thing. When you come into college, sometimes you have a tendency to think that you really know everything going in, and especially when you go on co-op, you have a tendency, at least I had a tendency, to try and convince everyone that I actually knew what I was doing. And like at the end of the day, you're a college freshman and you don't know what you're doing. And your co-op coworkers are going to know that, and you can have such a more effective time and learn so much more if you just if you just let yourself be vulnerable, and as Eric said, ask questions, and as Alexis said, ask for help. And then on the school side, join organizations, because there are hundreds and hundreds of clubs and activities and organizations around campus. And of everything that I've learned in my classes, I've learned so much more from my organizations and my clubs like Generate and Makers Club and everything like that. And I've met some of my best friends through them. So definitely join organizations and activities.
To kind of like echo what everyone else is saying, but add on a little bit, have fun. Engineering is really stressful and really hard sometimes. Just have fun. Remember that like you're in college and you don't get this time back. And it's one of the most unique times in your life where you're in school, but you also have your own life and you don't have this 9-to-5 structure yet, unless you're on co-op. And you have time to do things and meet people and go abroad and join clubs. Like, just have fun with this experience, because once you start the workforce, you're kind of going to work for a while unless you take a sabbatical. And it'd be a shame to look back on college and be like, oh, I'm sad I didn't go to that meeting, or I didn't go out with my friends and like hang out in Boston. Like, we're in a great city. There's so much to do, and you can do so many things off campus that I think people often overlook, because they're like, oh no, I have to do all my studying all the time. Take a break. It's okay. You can have fun.
Yeah, I totally agree with Bella. I'd also say to care about the input and don't care about really the output that you get from your classes. I'm saying not what you learn by I mean output as in like the grades. So, you study a little bit, you do your homework, whatever, you take the exam, you can't control how hard the exam is. And you're going to fail some exams. You can't be a perfectionist anymore. But as long as you just care about, I'm doing my homework, I'm doing my studying fine, I'm going to do it, I'm going to keep a good attitude, and whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. And don't stressing about that, I think, is the best way to stay happy, and live a balanced life. The best students here who not get the best grades, but, do well here, they have a good balance. They see their friends, they exercise, and they first take care of their mental and physical health. So I'd say that every day you should always have something that you're looking forward to doing, rather that's maybe going to the gym and working out or knitting or, doing something that you like. You got to have something every day that you're looking forward to. And then I think you'll be doing fine.
There's not much more advice that I can give because everyone said such good things so far. Mine was going to be have fun, and Bella really took that and ran with it. But yeah, I mean, also kind of echoing what Zach said, like, don't let a grade be the reason why you don't have fun. It's really not worth it, I'm going to be honest. Eventually, because you have co-ops, your grades will not matter, unless you have like a scholarship, so maybe worry about that a little bit. But like, have fun. It would be so boring if you just went to college and all you did was study. I think all of us do something leisurely in our time based on the slides that we had. So like, just do what you love, find people that you love hanging out with, and then also be a cool engineer. So yeah, that's all I have.
All right, thanks so much, everyone. I think panelists get the idea. If you have fun, have a balanced life, and you work hard at what you love, your career will work out in the end, and that's why we are here at Northeastern. So I wanted to thank everyone for coming. I hope you enjoyed the panel and meeting everyone here. I will kind of leave up this. First, we have a form that we're asking everyone to fill out. It gives us feedback, and if you guys could share your thoughts with us so that we could improve this panel for future freshmen that are going to be here next fall, that'd be wonderful. And besides that, I will leave, this form will be linked in the chat, so you don't have to worry about taking a picture. And then I'll leave this up so that you can kind of see the contact information for everyone. I hope we got to all of your questions, but if we didn't, or if you think of one later, feel free to take a picture of this slide. You can add these people on LinkedIn. You can shoot them an email. We're here to help you guys figure out the kind of confusing world that is being a freshman at Northeastern, however best we can. So again, thank you so much for coming. We hope you enjoyed the panel, and have a great night.